Hi everyone. Very warm welcome to our panel today, titled International Rights Holders Protection, Content Protection Strategies and Synergies. We have a fantastic panel and line of speakers for you today, so we are really glad to have all of you here. I'm going to start off with a really quick self-introduction. My name is Ho Fai. I'm the Vice President for Content Protection Legal at the Motion Picture Association and the Alliance for Creativity and Entertainment. We comprise more than 50 members around the world and represent these members in content protection all around the world, including in APAC, including India. So this might mean, initiating litigation, initiating criminal referrals, or taking any number of steps to protect our members' content from the threat of digital piracy. Piracy today continues to evolve continually, both in terms of scale as well as sophistication. Pirate syndicates tend to be based in different jurisdictions. They use unique technology to evade detection. And so the challenge of digital piracy and ensuring that our members' content is protected is getting more and more difficult every day. Today's panel brings together a really diverse group of professionals in the content protection space across many different jurisdictions. I'm very proud to be able to say that I work with many of these folks and professionals in my day-to-day job. And I'm really glad that you'll be able to hear from them today and share their experiences in protecting content all around the world. So without further ado, let me pass the time on to our individual panelists to give a quick introduction to themselves. So starting first with Dawn.
Thank you, Ho Fai. Good morning, everyone. My name is Dawn, and I also recently joined the Motion Picture Association and the Alliance for Creativity and Entertainment. I've been with the team for about a month, and prior to that, I was with Homeland Security Investigations at the U.S. Embassy in Singapore. And so part of our portfolio was looking at intellectual property theft, content protection, financial crimes, and trade all throughout the globe, but focused specifically in the APAC region. And so just to add to Ho Fai's comments about ACE, I just wanted to highlight the fact that ACE's mission is really to combat piracy through strategic enforcement and intelligence sharing, advocacy, and industry collaboration. And you're going to hear a lot about collaboration today. The content protection team coordinates multi-jurisdictional investigations, both in the civil and criminal space, on behalf of our members. We deploy and develop cutting-edge technology in anti-piracy and forensic tools. We collaborate with law enforcement networks internationally. And additionally, we work with law enforcement organizations like Interpol and Europol to provide training and case coordination for larger investigations. Additionally, we work with regulators and legislators to push legal framework forward, and we conduct deep dive research, which is critical for us because it helps us focus where we're going to place our resources as far as content protection for our members. Additionally, we engage with intermediaries, which has been really significant for us in our enforcement. And last I'd like to say is that we target piracy supply chains through content acquisition all the way through the monetization. And I think that's what really sets us apart from other organizations. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of those threats later on today.
Passing on to Ms. Ji Hei Lee.
Yes, hello, my name is Ji Hei Lee, and I'm a producer. So I'm here to speak as a producer standpoint. As a producer, we create creation from the scratch, and then we put a lot of effort. And then when it's been invaded by piracy, it's a lot of loss. So I'm very into this subject, and then I want to give some practical standpoint as a producer here. So I had the opportunities to connect studios to studios across borders for the co-productions for many years. And then through those experiences, I've been facing many difficulties and lost a lot of my fund because some of the investors, as a producer, we are having this that contradictory opportunities that we have to showcase our content, but at the same time, we are exposing and we are facing this risk to expose our own content. And some investors, they see our content and they just walk away with this asset and they just produce their own IP. Just exploit it, but they just change a little bit of colors and then a little bit of just hairstyles, only that. And then they just use all the scripts, but they just name the name of characters, and then they say that's their own copyright. So, and also when I process the co-production, some studios, they walk in and then they see all the materials, and then they even sign an MOU and then MOA, final agreement. So this production company, pre-production company, they just share every asset with them. And then when they are waiting for some result, they don't have none of the people don't answer the phone, don't pick up the phone. They just disappear. And a few years later, the same content just showing on Netflix or some other places. So for me, piracy is not only the site hopping, it's also for so many internal enemies in this industry. So I want to extend this point from this pre-production to the licensing. Yeah, of course, main production and then site hopping, piracy, the illegal sites is very important. But as a production company standpoint, it happens from the beginning, not after it's all done. So, yeah, that's my standpoint. And then, thank you for listening.
Thanks, Jihei. Just passing on to Tatsuya-san from Coda.
Thank you very much, Jorge-san. It is an honor to be a part of this panel discussion. My name is Tatsuya Otsuka. I'm a Deputy Senior Director of International Affairs at the organization called CODA, Content Overseas Distribution Association. We are established in 2002, and our main mission is to protect Japanese content. And we carry out this mission by the sponsorship of Japanese government, namely Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry. Our members are major Japanese right holders, including movie producers, TV stations, and publishers. Have you heard of Godzilla or Naruto or One Piece? They are works by our members. Our focus historically is copyright enforcement in countries and regions in East Asia, like China, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. In 2023, we took a major criminal action against a Chinese operator who had hosted huge anime infringing streaming site. That's our really good success. But in the meantime, we started an initiative called CBEP, Cross-Border Enforcement Project, in 2021, and we extending our reach to South America as well as Europe. These days, Japanese animation is popular in the world, so piracy against anime is also increasing drastically. We are putting a lot of efforts to fight against infringing sites that infringe animations. And today, I would like to talk about anime piracy in India. Thank you.
Thanks, Tatsuya-san. Passing the time on to Director Choi.
My name is Itae Choi. I'm the Executive Director of Copyright Overseas Promotion Association in Korea. Shortly we call the COA or just COA, because we would like to become a center of the power for the protecting Korean content. So we just call COA. It's better than just says these kind of long names. Okay. Anyone who loves Korean content? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Yes. Last. Yeah. So that's it. So that's why our organization founded in year 2017, because Korean content has become very famous, and relatively infringement rate is also increased. So we need to protecting overseasly. So that's why our organization made it, and we do a lot of work, and we do whatever we want to do. And Basically, our organization is a privately joint response organization that encompasses all cultural areas such as broadcasting and movies, webcomics, web novels, and musics, and also including some games. We are making various efforts to expand the legal distribution of Korean work overseas, respond to and remedy copyright infringement overseas. Well, as I mentioned that in the previous, our organization basically run for the 24 hours unstoppable monitoring for the infringement in online, and we just send a lots of letter to the bad guys to could you delete our contents, or this nicely we ask to them, but well we all know that they are not. Well, then simply did it. So we ask to the ISP, OSP, and whatever we need, and we just ask to them to drop down those kinds of illegal contents on the website. So basically, we learned those kinds of work, and also we do some research for we would like to know what happened in this kinds of content industry, because we have to know that this situation, then we could make some strategy to protecting our content. So that's why we have to do some research. And also, where this time is a kind of one of our other work, which is thanks to the HOPI and ACE and MPA, we're working together, and we do some international cooperation, and we're working together because we all know that in these days, infringement is not, there's no boundary, or there's no nationalities problem, or maybe I still have some problem with the jurisdiction. But anyway, there's no limited to which country you live in, well, which language you should using it. It doesn't matter. It's kinds of things we have to do working together. So that's why we working with also CODA, thanks to the OSCA, and also working with the HOPI, and also we're working with MPA well, later I will maybe explain about something more about our working. So that's all what I'm doing actually my organization doing in this time. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Director Choi. And last but not least, passing the time on to Mr. Rajkumar.
Thank you to Waves for organizing this. I am from the Telugu film industry. I am from the land of Bahubali and RRR, which won the first ever Oscar for India. So Telugu film is the Telugu population is very, very passionate about films. And so we also have a major threat of piracy. So our anti-piracy efforts had started long time back. In fact, we had the first ever anti-piracy cell within the film industry, in all of India. So I'll just give you a little context of how it all started. So around Y2K, the start of the new millennium, so hundreds and thousands of Telugus actually moved to US. So for IT jobs and all that. We saw that as a major opportunity, and we started a overseas distribution company in New York. So we saw that actually a lot of DVDs were being pirated in US. So we were really mad at them. So we actually conducted a raid in Chicago in Devon Street in 2003. So we confiscated 97,000 DVDs belonging to all films and all of that. But what we realized was it actually left a huge hole in our pocket because we were not really aware of the attorneys and what kind of costs were involved, and actually we had to pay everybody the attorney costs and the Homeland Security. Dawn would know. I mean, she's been a veteran from HSA. So it actually like almost $200,000 we spent on that raid alone. But then we realized that, it's not one individual's job because these DVDs belong to everybody, a lot of copyright owners. So we went back to the industry and we said, actually, we need to have some kind of a collective mechanism to tackle piracy. So around 2005, we set up the anti-piracy cell in Telugu film industry. And in 2010, as internet, actually the onset of internet and online piracy, we actually formed a digital piracy team within Telugu film industry. And ever since I've been the chairman of the cell. And sometime around 2012, I reached out to Motion Picture Association, the Indian office, and I said we need to work together because Again, actually, it is like Mr. Choi just mentioned, the piracy is like, beyond boundaries. It can happen from anywhere. So we all need to work together. So as we speak, like, today, there is a huge population in India that watches Korean content, K-dramas, K-pop, and last estimates actually indicate almost 15 million people who watch Korean content in India. Some parts of India, in fact, Northeast, they're not even familiar with Indian stars as much as they are familiar with Korean stars. Likewise, Japanese anime is hugely popular in India. Last count, about 30 million Indian fans, otakus, if you may, in India for Japanese anime. And likewise, Indian movies are being watched massively in Japan. So basically, today, we all need to work together. It's like, it's a world without boundaries, and piracy is the same. And that's why we are here. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mr. Rajkumar. So I hope just from this, last set of answers, I think two things are clear. The first is, I think this panel really has some of the top voices and the top professionals in their respective fields, right? These are folks with, extensive experience tackling digital piracy in each of our jurisdictions. But I think the second point that I would raise is that everyone here, represents different rights holders and different types of rights, right? We have Hollywood content, we have Bollywood content, we have K-drama, and we have anime. Now, what I hope to do over the next hour or so is to discuss how, despite all of us representing different rights holders, what are the shared synergies, but also challenges that all rights holders face in protecting our content against the threat of digital piracy. And I think if we get a good understanding of that, I would consider this to be a successful panel. But first, before we move on further, I wanted to first start off with setting the stage. I think not everyone here in the audience might be that familiar with digital piracy. So I thought it'd be helpful for us, to start off by just giving a lay of the land. And I think for that, if I could pass it on to Dawn to just give us, some background on what are some of the challenges that we face today in the fight against digital piracy.
Thank you, Hopai. So I'm going to walk you all through piracy. We're going to go way back in time. So I think Raj said, right, that back in the late 90s, we were looking at pirated DVDs, right? That's where it kind of all started. And if you think back to the 90s, where were we with devices? We weren't really there, right? When did we all get our first cell phone? Probably late 90s, early 2000s, right? I think that with the onset of technology, and specifically mobile devices, we have seen drastic changes in piracy. And what's happened is that piracy has become a cross-border, cross-jurisdictional cybercrime, really tied to criminal organizations that didn't exist in the late 90s, right? It was somebody copying content, making a CD, selling it. And so what do we really see? We really see in the early 2000s, we moved towards the torrent sites, right? But we don't really need our phones for that, right? We're looking at that on a computer, right? And not even a laptop at the time, right? We're looking at it on a CPU. And so it was sophisticated for the time, but if you think about where we start from 2000 to where we are today in 2025, it has really exploded. The world has mobile devices. The world is consuming content on those mobile devices. We have it at our fingertip. And so it creates an opportunity for criminal syndicates to get into the market. And why are people doing it? People are doing it for money, right? People commit crimes because there's a financial benefit. And so when we think about that today, that's where we really start to see the evolution of piracy. And I think that it's a challenge. One of the challenges I'm going to talk about first, and you will hear my colleagues on stage kind of reaffirm this, is it's a cross-border crime, it's electronic crime, And now we have various platforms that support this crime, right? So we look at streaming, right? So after the torrent sites come in the early 2000s, we move over to streaming. And streaming is perfect for all of these, right? It's at our fingertips. And from streaming, we go to IPT services, right? And that's really caused a problem for all studios globally, right? Because now we're using OTT and other stuff. And then as we move into today, right, we're looking at apps. We're looking at Fire Sticks. We're looking at IPT devices. We are looking at Discord and Telegram, right? And all of these sites, right, allow the perpetrator to hide, right? They hide from law enforcement, and it makes it really hard for rights holders to be able to enforce their content. And so the other piece that makes it a challenge is the fact that servers are sitting in countries where we don't get good cooperation. Legal frameworks make it difficult, right? It's that cross-border where there may be a good legal framework in one country, but not the other, but the perpetrator sits in another country. So all of these things come into play. And I think also for the rights holders, and I think Jihee will probably highlight this, right? And she did a little bit in her introduction, is really the copyright piece, right? Where you're having to copyright your work globally, and this content is just all over the world in the click of a button. And so I think that's really challenging for rights holders there. And then lastly, before I kind of pass it over, and we can talk about this a little bit more in detail after, is malware, piracy, gambling, credit card fraud, right? We have to look at the dark web. The advertising mechanisms that are in place that feed and fuel the operators of these sites, right? So as we are getting into this digital age, as piracy is advancing, as we're doing these investigations and we're talking with colleagues around the world, what do we see? We see that there is malware on some of these IPT devices. We know this for a fact. And we know that some of the sites that host piracy also host illegal gambling, and they're stealing your credit card information. So now we're moving into other spaces besides just piracy. And so I think for rights holders, it poses a lot of challenges for enforcement. I think when we think about normal mechanisms of enforcement, of cease and desist, it's challenging to make that happen because of the global nature of the crime today. And so collectively, I think those are just some of the challenges that we see. I think one more I'm going to add. Sorry. It is really, when we look at these sites, and I think my colleagues are going to talk about this as well, is, you know, we have sites that are mirror sites. So we have 123 movies, .1, .2, .3, .4. So we're taking this down, but they're popping up over here. And it becomes a whack-a-mole type of operation that nobody can sustain, right? And so I think the theme here that you're going to hear everybody say is that we all have to work together. We all have to share intelligence. We're looking at research and really how we can kind of pull together as a community to fight this borderless crime that's impacting everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Dawn. And I think just the second part, again, of just giving the introduction to the landscape of piracy. So I think we are very privileged today to have Ms. Jihae Lee here from the production standpoint. She mentioned, you know, she's producing one of the first joint productions between Korea and India. So really, really fascinating stuff. But I really wanted to have her on this panel because she can provide a perspective from a production standpoint, right? How does piracy affect the decisions that you make when you enter into production? So Jihae, if I could just pass the time on to you to speak a bit more on that perspective.
First of all, Dawn doesn't give only introduction. She already delivers all the words that I need to speak, but I'm gonna just add my emotion on it because I'm the one who's gonna lose all the money if there's piracy, appears. So she just said whack-a-mole. That whack-a-mole scenario is what I'm afraid the most. because, now I am doing the first official co-production between Korea and India. And then it's 2025, and then my co-production partner is there from Hyderabad. So, and then why is it first time? But I've been in this industry, as I told you, that for last maybe more than 10 years. I don't want to reveal the exact time because I don't want you to calculate my age, but yeah, but yeah, that means it's first. That means for last more than 10 years, I've been failed. You know why? Because there are many piracies, even from the start stages. Not only Korea, but also India, the both are, because bad people are everywhere. And then when you proceeded, and then few years later, it appears on other platforms. And then even for that infringers, they also have another infringers who's making this site hopping. But then, now me and that Vijay from Hyderabad, my partner, we are putting all the funds into it. And then we are taking all the risk to make this. And then now we are afraid of having these piracies because, it's cross-border crimes, as she mentioned. But even if it's a crime, it's cross-border crimes, still it remains, we have to do it in a private level. So we have to put our own private money on it to tackle it. So it costs a lot of money. Think about it. If you lose on a wallet, and then if we report to a policeman that somebody don't get this wallet, then the police will send the enforcement to catch her. But if I report this, then if she hides another jurisdiction with weak IP enforcement, then they will say, it's out of Korea, it's out of India. And sometimes government ask me to fill in a lot of documents. And then while I am filling in all the documents, the pirates are having a lot of money. So what's the point of it? Because that after a few years later, then it's not new anymore. Nobody gonna watch it anyway, even if I got this right to put it on the platform. And it's not the only issue. I'm the animation producer at the moment, but think about the Korean K-drama. You all like a K-drama, and then you will see a lot of cosmetics. The characters are using it, and then you are gonna buy that cosmetics. That imagining I'm gonna be almost like her, maybe, if I use the cosmetic or. And then the cosmetic company is the investment for that K-dramas. But then they're going to calculate how much they're going to put in according to that official viewership points. But they are not going to calculate the piracy site. So that means they are not going to invest enough money, even though they get all these benefit out of it. So as a producer, I think there is not actor or actresses here. We are all, most of you guys are maybe creators, writers, and producer, directors. Then in this industry, the only person who get all the benefit out of it is the well-known actors and actresses. Because even through the piracy site, the hopping site hopping, they can get their own popularity. So they are not losing anything, but creators, they lose our intention. So I think the government, they need to collaborate together, another government, and then they need to fund that legal experts like them, so that they need to collaborate all together, because they already have, the legal experts have all the worldwide network, they can do it. And then we, private producers, don't have enough fund to do it, because, I talked to that Korean commissioner, film commissioner, and he says, if we calculate correctly, that piracy sites, the viewers can be up to 50%. So if there is recordly 1 million people watch that film, actually it's 2 million if you calculate all the other people. So we are losing all the money. That's it. And then still, we have to put in our money into legal enforcement. Because when it comes to the outside of this country, then we have to do it with our own fund. And then it's sometimes exceeding more than the production cost itself. So we have to put more money. We have to pay more to the lawyers than to the all the artists, writers, and directors. One lawyer from law firm can get more than our production cost. So I think as the governments, they protect our own property, like the wallet and everything. They need to have this frame, this structure to protect our creators in government, and then all the collaborations, coordinate work with another government and then another worldwide legal expert companies. Yeah, that's my pain and opinion. Yeah.
Thanks, Jihye. I've been doing this every day for the last 2 years, and I think sometimes it's really important for us to hear from the perspective of those who are directly involved in the content itself. Because I think for us sometimes, these are cases, and we're looking for success, but I think it's always important for us to really remember that at the end of the day, what we're trying to protect here is not just content like abstract concept, right? It is someone's time, someone's sweat, someone's blood, someone's tears, and really something that they're really proud of, and they want to have it presented in a way, that lives up to their vision and their aspirations for it. And, this also reminds me of a different conversation that I had a while back with another one of these production companies on a different issue, which is not just piracy, but that of pre-release leaks, right? Something that you have worked on so long and so hard that is sometimes then uploaded onto a piracy platform in a format that isn't completed, right? It could be because it is taken through camcording. It could be because, the VFX isn't completed, the SFX isn't completed, and it's leaked in this. And I just can now imagine, the sort of pain and like how upset you must be that you've been working on something for so long and it then gets released in a format that is obviously completely antithetical to your vision and your aspirations. So thank you for providing that input and insight for us today as well, Jihye. And thanks as well to Dawn for, I think, giving us a really comprehensive overview of the piracy landscape and sort of how it's developed and what are challenges that we face today. So I think with that, we've got a pretty good idea of sort of the backdrop and the landscape of piracy already. Now let's talk about solutions. And that's really why we have, again, all these experts here. I want to pass it on maybe first to Tatsuya-san. From the perspective of a Japanese rights holder, can you tell us, what are some of the things that you are doing to tackle some of these issues that Dawn and Jihye just raised?
Okay. Most important thing is collaborations. That's really most important things. And also understanding what's going on. Otherwise, you cannot take proper measures. And as Dawn-san mentioned, people have sophisticated devices and infringing content. So we need to understand the behavior of people and stuff. And today, since we are doing this panel discussion in India, and we conducted research on anime infringement in India, so I would like to read through some of the results.
Yes, please.
So this research was commissioned to IP House. And they conducted research. And according to the result of their research, India ranks in second in terms of the volume of access to infringing anime content, unfortunately. But anime is very popular here. That's good to hear. And anime piracy in India spans authorized streaming, torrents, and direct downloads, targeting a highly engaged audience. And streaming, 52%, that's most common. Then comes direct download, 47%. So those are two ways Indian people, young Indian people, consume infringing anime content. And also social media platforms, particularly Telegram, plays a central part in infringement act. In terms of social media and UGC site categories, Telegram is like 83% of whole infringement. That's huge. Then if we focus just on UGC site, we can look at YouTube. That's 50% of UGC infringement. And in terms of language, this one actually I was very surprised, but maybe this is not surprise to Indian audience, but English dub is most consumed content and infringed content of anime, and that's 85%. That's enormous. And then comes the local language, Indian language, that's 8%. And that's like we focus on some language, like main ones, like Hindi, Tamil, and Telugu. Hopefully I'm pronouncing this name properly. And there are some die-hard anime fans, and they watch infringed anime in Japanese with English subtitle. That's 7%. But in summary, like most of people consume infringing animation in India in English. Yeah. And piracy is predominantly consumed as a TV series. TV series is the most common pirated content because there are so many of them, episodes by count. And so TV series accounted for 67% of total piracy across all categories. That includes Japanese anime, Hollywood, and Korean contents. And movie represents 33% of infringement, with Bollywood and Hollywood contributing the large share of this. Then for anime, TV series represent over 99% of total piracy. And infringed anime movies, just very small portion. Yeah. So along with the research, IP has also conducted a survey. And according to the result, 49% of anime viewers thoroughly access pirated website. And with only 26 users access to legal platforms, only 26%. And the survey reveals that lower priced subscription plans can lead to decrease in illegal streaming. Yet, challenge remains. According to consumer feedback, delayed release, incomplete libraries, and absence of niche titles, like unique titles, that drive user to piracy sites. So this survey was sampled from 800 anime consumers aged between 16 to 30. And to ensure diversity, the sample was stratified by gender, age, and geographic location. And 400 samples are taken offline, and 400 samples are taken online. And the result is 71% of anime viewers are male and 29% are female. So animes are popular among male. And in terms of age group, 35% fall into the 16 to 20 age group. Then 44 belongs to 21 to 25. And that's like a most dominant one. Then only 21% belong to 26 and above. So anime infringing content is consumed by mostly younger generation of Indian people here. And despite rampant piracy, awareness of legal option is high. Yeah, people know about legal option. And 64% of respondents know about official streaming platform for anime. And among them, Netflix, it's 43%, and Crunchyroll, 38%. And they are the most recognized ones. And why do people choose piracy? For 42% said it's free of cost. This one is hard to beat. They have to respect what they love. That's the only thing we can say. And 20% appreciates the ability to download and watch later. Downloading, yeah, still. And 20% cite a wider variety of category in one place, convenience. Then 40% prefer dubbed content that legal platform may not offer all the time. Anyway, so despite this alarming situation, India provides a tool to fight against piracy. These are provisions under the Information Technology Act, which offer both civil and criminal remedies, empowering authority to block infringing platforms. The blocking remedy include dynamic site blocking, brand blocking, and also order to domain name registrars. Order to domain name registrars is particularly interesting. In this order, domain name registrar is directed to suspend or terminate the account of the rogue website and disclose all the relevant information, including payment details used for registration of the domain names and details of other websites registered by named defendants who are identified to be using similar details, same credit card, and same payment gateways. So Coda is not doing anything active in India at this point, but we try to work with MPA to do some kind of measure in this country. Thank you.
Thanks, Tatsuya-san. And I'd be very interested to hear Director Choi's views on that as well. But I think from the MPA's perspective, and to your first point, right, the popularity of foreign content within India, I think that's something that our own research supports as well, right? When you look at the top 10 websites in India, some of the top ones focus exclusively on Hollywood content. So there's clearly a huge demand for foreign content, and Director Choi, I'd be very interested to hear your thoughts as well on that, whether or not the popularity of K content within India, and I think on Tatsuya-san's second point, what Korean producers are doing in response to that as well.
Okay, thank you. Before I start, I just one thing mentioned too. Okay, thank you, Ms. Lee. Share your real life business experience. Or is it, I feel like I do more things than previous time. Okay,
I also was inspired.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. In these days, because of global OTT, Korean content has become very famous, including in India. So I think I don't need to mention about what's the ratio about some favorite things or something like that. I just want to mention about some problem because of in these days, where Don mentioned about the hopping site is kind of really give to us a headache in these days because maybe I think it's 3 or 4 years ago, hopping site mainly problem for the only web comics because the imprinted website they made their domain with put it on some sequencing like one of the famous illegal. Previously famous illegal webtoon website and K-webtoon website was Bamtoki, which meaning it's a 9-11 something like that. They said Bamtoki 1 and Bamtoki 2 and 3, and certainly our right holders tried to stop them, so they just asked to the Korean government to do the site blocking. Then they just think, okay, if I just follow the sequentially, it's gonna be shut down. So they just jumping up till 100 and 101, 102. Almost every 2 weeks or 3 weeks, they just changed their domain. So we couldn't stop everything. So, but in these days, even movie and K-drama websites do those things and same things. You may not familiar with a website we call the Nunu TV. It's one of a very famous website imprinting website, not regular website. But actually, that was really crazy things too, because actually that website only services by Korean, which meaning is that they target you to Korean. not the foreigners. But the real problem is, actually last night I checked the Korean population. They said, or I need some cheating because I'm not familiar with some number things. Okay. Yeah. The population of Korea is approximately 51.2 million according to last night. But the cumulative visiting number of that illegal website, which is called Nunu TV, was approximately 29 million, which meaning is almost 96% of Korean population is the same. So which meaning is it's almost half of Korean people, I mean theoretically, half of people visit to those websites, which meaning the real problem with that site was even Hollywood movie showing in the Korea. But before the showing open on the movie theater, someone who take the webcam version or the digital cam version took records in the Hong Kong or some other area, they put it on that movie on the website, just open the foreign countries with a subtitle. And even they put it on that, they said, mention about that, if they can get the original file, that will exchange that with those files. So which meaning is it's really crazy, but it's not only Hollywood movie and K-drama and even Japanese animation, very famous one, and almost all the titles over there. Even some Chinese, some dramas will put it on there. So that's why our right holders to ask the Korean government to deal with this kind of situation. Thank you to the Hopai and ACE. At the time, they gave to the lots of assistance for some investigation. So that's why we found out some three operators, and we got the two, and one just escaped, but we just still following. But anyway, I just mentioned this site because this kind of hoping site is really has give to us a lots of problem because we couldn't cut it out. So if I stop by, I mean, the site blocking in Korea, well, yeah, but those kinds of sites is very friendly, actually user-friendly to show that how can you using some VPN to connect to their website. Even they just gave to them some web application to just simply connect to those sites. So the site looks like a real and looks like a regular service, something like that, but it's really give to us a lot of problem. Okay, so I have time limit, so I just want to make it sure that IT technology and this kinds of mobile device is give to us easy to our life, but when we're using the illegally, it gives to lots of trouble. So when content providers or content creators, when they made their content, they make lots of effort to make a good content. So if you just please to using those kinds of, to not using these kinds of illegal things and just please using just regular things. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Choi, and sorry for making you rush to the last moment. But yeah, no, last but not least, of course, I wanted to hear from Mr. Raj Kumar. If you could also share your perspective, of course, as a local filmmaker.
So what I really want to talk about is we've been talking, all my colleagues have been talking about piracy and how it has been there for a very long time. We all been fighting. But today, we just need to recognize the urgency and the time sensitivity of the issue. Okay, so the magnitude of piracy in numbers, these may not be very accurate because it's constantly growing. But Indian industry as such is losing 22,400 crores, which is about $3 billion every year on account of piracy. The Indian legit theatrical market is not even 1.5 billion, which is 2 times the legitimate market we are actually losing in piracy. And we are losing about 800,000 jobs every year on account of piracy. And from 2018 to 2024, the footfalls have fallen by 50%. And it is not, this viewership is not going to OTT because OTTs have drastically cut down the acquisition because they are also seeing the impact of piracy because they are losing viewership to piracy as well. And so it's a huge problem, and every piece of content that is being created today has a global audience potentially. You know, earlier it was like, you know, there is a smaller community of creators, but today with the mobile phones, with the technology, every creator, like, you know, every person, every individual is a creator, and he probably has a potential global audience. So we need to recognize that this is a very urgent problem, and the biggest protective shield that all these websites have is the anonymity. And there was a time, in fact, in 2015, a piracy of Bahubali happened. So I personally went to a place, we actually tracked them down. So the movie was pirated by a gentleman in Jabalpur, which is in the state of Madhya Pradesh. And when we went there with the cops, they said actually he was residing in Pune, which is Maharashtra. It is a different state. And then we actually gathered information that it was actually pirated in a theater in Calcutta, in Inox, which is one of the leading multiplexes. So then this gentleman was actually working for an IT company as a project manager, and doing piracy was his hobby, and he was transacting in cryptocurrencies. And at the time of piracy, he was actually in Los Angeles. And then he had his accomplices in Delhi, Haryana, Sri Lanka, France, and everywhere. So we just understood the complexity of piracy. It's like all over, spread, the tentacles of piracy spread all over the globe. So, I mean, at that time, at least actually 7-8 years from now, basically there was some kind of mechanism to track them down. We could actually unmask them. But today it is so difficult. When you register a website, the domain registrar doesn't keep a track of who is registering it. The guy who is hosting the website, he is not maintaining KYC. So the company which is actually providing content distribution network services, they are not keeping a track of these people. So we've been stressing on the importance of keeping a KYC. We are actually pursuing with the government to request that all these service providers must reveal the identities of these pirates, because that's most important. Because if we don't do that, we're just actually taking down some links that is not going to help any of us. We need to go beyond, and we need to unmask these criminals. And also in India especially, most of us are familiar with the phenomena of digital arrest. It's a big fraud. It's a fraud worth thousands of crores, like, you know, billions of dollars. And how did these people do this? Because they stole the data of all the users, and they would call somebody and they say, actually, there is a drug consignment that has come in your name. So you're being digitally arrested. So unless you pay some, you know, significant money online, you will be arrested. And they actually invented the concept of digital arrest, which is unheard of. And they would say, now you are under digital arrest, you can't move. And a lot of people, very, you know, highly educated people. In fact, a lot of my colleagues in the film industry, they are very in high positions, very well educated, and they would get scared. They said, actually, we are under digital arrest, and this is ridiculous. You know, there's no concept of digital arrest. And how are they able to do that? Because they are privy to your information that they stole from various websites that are actually using malware to steal your identity. And those are all coming from pirated sites. So piracy today is much, much lethal than any time ever that we had experienced. It is much more dangerous. So this is a time that we all need to come together and handle this very efficiently and effectively. In fact, my request is, you know, we've been on many panel discussions earlier, but actually this panel discussion, in fact, like yesterday Mr. Amir Khan was saying, we only have about 2% of Indians watching movies, and that percentage is still going down. So we need to protect that. You know, in the interest of really doing something tangibly productive for the sake of tackling piracy, I think we all should come together. And all these gentlemen that we have, all my colleagues, I think we should actually form a global task force against piracy. And this movement is most appropriate than any other. Like, you know, actually this movement should result in some tangible action against piracy. And that's my request. We should use this platform to start that global task force. We all should stay connected. And it should be so easy that, you know, in fact, we have a WhatsApp group for this panel discussion, and it was so easy to coordinate with each other, and the same level of ease should be there when we are fighting piracy, when we are sharing knowledge, when we are actually sharing best practices and all of that. And that's my request, to all of you. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Rajkumar, for raising that important suggestion. I think, I fully agree. I think all the panelists here agree. I only have just one last point, just to really quickly echo, I think, the last point that you mentioned, right? And of course, I think, in addition to what Jihei mentioned about the harms that piracy causes to productions and, rights holders, I think the other important part of it is the malware piece, right? This isn't just about damage to industry. It has real harms and real implications to consumers as well, because these piracy sites have a higher incidence of malware, there's a higher incidence of fraud, and we've done study after study that has shown this, right, that piracy is linked to, these are not just like fly-by-night, like small-time crooks or syndicates, right? Many of these are syndicates that are involved in many different forms of criminality. They're using piracy proceeds to fund, much more serious forms of criminal activity. So the fight against piracy is also for the benefit of the consumer and the protection of folks who otherwise have visited these sites without knowing the illegality. But with that, I think we're running short of time. I just wanted to just really quickly summarize, I think, today's discussion. I think, we are very grateful to, again, this amazing lineup of panelists for speaking today. I think a few takeaways that I had, that I was jotting down during the panel discussion. I think the first one is piracy is definitely no longer a local problem. I think it affects all of us. But also, I think the second point is that there's two dimensions to that, right? The same issues that affect one of us in terms of, for example, when Rajkumar mentioned, this issue of anonymity, right? That's faced by all of us. But also, when we make progress for any one of us, that helps all of us. So, for example, when Tatsuya-san mentions, dynamic site blocking, when he mentions, the ability now that the Delhi High Court has granted orders that support our action, right? That's something that all rights holders can benefit of. And I think that, again, symbolizes why this is a joint effort. And I think Don's topic was really important, right? So it's not just about those of us on the stage here in terms of private rights holders, but also the collaboration with the public and the government and the courts, because as private rights holders, we cannot go at this alone. This is a huge issue, and we look forward to working closely with the government, with the courts, to take firm and decisive action against the urgent threat of piracy, as Rajkumar mentioned. So I think with that, I'd like to wrap up the panel. If I could invite everyone to just give our panelists just a quick round of applause, please. All right.